What role do genetics and environment play in addiction? So massive roles. Uh, there's a lot of science to tell us that addiction is in fact genetics, like it can be passed down. One of my favorite sayings, though, is it ran in my family until it ran into me. And what that means is just because your dad or mom was an alcoholic doesn't mean that you have to be. You can decide not to go that route, right? It's much harder for you, right? If you try drugs and alcohol and you're already have that brain to be wired for addiction, it's going to be much tougher for you to turn away. But if you continuously say it ran in my family until it ran into me, you're going to be more likely to not want to try that, right? Like your parents are an example for you, whether it's good or bad, and you as a parent too. If you're a good example or a bad example, it's up to you, but you're certainly going to be an example. So if your parents are alcoholics, you can use that as an example. You can use that as, this is not the way I want to go, and this is not the life that I want for my kids. So I'm going to decide not to go that route. And that route may include not trying drugs and alcohol at all in the first place, right? It's your risk is immensely higher if your parents are alcoholics to yourself be an alcoholic. So, you can decide to stay away from that. And it's never too late. You're never too far gone. So if you already went that route and you're starting to become an addict or an alcoholic, then you can stop. You can stop at any time, right? I'm not saying it's easy, but you can stop. It's not impossible, right? I stopped. There's millions of people that have stopped when they were in the deepest parts of their addiction, and they got out of it. So, your environment does play a big role. If your parents are alcoholics or drug addicts, and you're going to see that, it's going to be a little bit more normalized. If it looks good to you, which I doubt, you'd be more likely to try it. But when you have your own kids, you can decide that you're not going to go that way. And if you foster this environment where there is no drugs and alcohol, then your kids are going to be less likely to want to go that route. So, it ran in my family until it ran into me. That's an important saying that you can carry forward, and you can then foster your environment so that your kids don't have that. But just because you grew up in a bad environment or a bad household, or your parents are addicts, doesn't mean that it has to be your story. That's just how it started. It's not how it's going to end.